Welcome to Chris Strub Unmuted. I'm Chris Strub, and today this is the season finale of episode 4, talking High Rocks with Matt B. Davis.
So it used to be go to the bar, um, and now it's like come join this run club. That's where young, fit, and now you add what happens when you're young and fit and you're not wearing a lot of clothes and you're sweating and there's what do you call it? Not just adrenaline, but what's the other stuff going on there? Pheromones and oxytocin, whatever's going on, right? It's you're in prime. Let's meet people.
This is Chris Strub Unmuted, a show designed for open dialogue, honest reflection, and uncensored truths about the lives that we lead. Today's season finale episode talks about High Rocks with my longtime buddy, Matt B. Davis. Matthew, welcome to the show. Thank you for making some time today. It's great to see you always, man.
Great to see you. I mean, I think the way things go, the penultimate episode is what people really usually watch, and then the finale can be a letdown. So I hope I'm not a letdown to the penultimate episode, which is the one before this, whoever
Every
that is.
Everybody loves Jake from OTF. I just got off a call, finally getting to chat with Jake about our first High Rocks experience. And I want to talk High Rocks with you, but Matt, to wrap up this season, and you've seen my podcast, I like to group my episodes into seasons with a bit of a theme. Um, I thought you would be the perfect person to give some context to why our generation is doing High Rocks in the first place, right? So there's lots of videos and stuff about like how the stations work. And I can talk to you about sled pull and erg and all that shit and stuff like that. But I really want to take a few minutes to get into the perspective of why High Rocks exists in the first place. Why is this sort of a sensation that's kind of taking over, the millennial-ish generation? And what are we doing here? Where do we go from here? So, Matt, where did this High Rocks thing come from? And how did we get here?
So the guys that started it wanted this idea of why isn't there a combination of running and strength and some other capabilities, right? So they don't say this specifically because I think they don't want to upset people, but if they're being honest with themselves, they'll say, we saw HYROX and we wanted to make a easier barrier to entry because that's how I explain it to people that understand general fitness. If it's a brand new person, I would just say you run, then you push a sled, then you run, then you do something else, and it's
Yeah.
like this nice combination. But it's CrossFit without the barrier of A, complex Olympic lifts, B, gymnastics. So everything else is what you could probably do at a CrossFit gym or many, many gyms that focus on overall functional fitness. So that was missing. And I have said for as long as I've been covering this, I don't know what took so long because CrossFit could have done this. Hey, you're tired of just going to the Y or your local box and getting on the treadmill and lifting a few weights. Here's a way to train your whole body and it's fun and it's a race. And if you like it, maybe you'll move on to these other things we do in CrossFit. We have this whole mindset and modality of the seven pillars, and gymnastics is one of them, and like all that stuff. So that was right there. Spartan could have also had it. They had kind of a version of this with their stadium races where you would do their obstacles, like there's some monkey bars, but you go up the stairs and then you come down and you lift up a ball and you go over the box. And there was a few kind of places here. So clearly the world was ready for this combination. And then a couple of other macro things have happened that are the perfect recipe, I think. And one is um, uh, looking good on Instagram is people's number one thing these days. And two, fitness as a way to get together and to meet the opposite sex is a massive thing, as you know. So you will read many articles about run clubs or the new nightclubs, or the next step further, people are meeting in the morning to drink coffee and dance. So this whole idea of it's not about staying up all night, it's about being up during the day and doing cool things together. So you couple that with these guys did so many things right. And what you felt and what you noticed was, and I think people have said this, you feel like a rock star from the minute you get there, right? You have the cool start line, you
Mhm.
do the things, your friends are cheering you on, these amazing pictures come out at the end. And that's I think the key to HYROX's success so far.
Yeah. And Matt, I didn't give you a formal introduction because I wanted to dive right into it, but Matt, one, has been a great friend of mine for over a decade now. And I love you like a brother, dude. I really do.
Thank
And
you.
I'm just
Me
really
too. Same.
grateful. Matt had me on his very popular hybrid fitness media podcast earlier this week. That episode is out now, so you could pair up that episode with this episode. Check it out. And Matt, this will be coming out probably next week. I just spoke to my editor here because we're talking a lot about HYROX now. But Matt has also been a very long time podcaster. So give me like a minute or so on your evolution. Like, obviously, you haven't always been the hybrid fitness media podcaster. So what were sort of the predecessors? Like, what got you personally to this point? Because you've kind of tracked this evolution of what young fit people have been doing with their disposable income over the last decade ish. So you want to kind of pick up the Matt B. Davis story around the early 2010s?
Sure. And like, I mean, I think like almost any success story, it's a lot of luck and timing. So similarly, I did, and as a little caveat, I am in fact a generation before you. I am in fact Gen X.
I
So
was trying to loop you in.
no, I
You got like
appreciate that. But
the
just to kind of let people
geriatric
know, I
laugh.
got a really late start in life. So at 40 years old, I think it's a great lesson to me, and it's never too late because the short version for me is I grew up and my heroes were stand-up comics and sportscasters. And I tried the stand-up comedy route for about a decade. And it was great. And I traveled the country and it was an amazing experience. I lived in LA for a long time and I don't regret that at all. And I was always broke and I never really, broke through, as they say, or like got the fame and fortune that I wanted. And I started another business because it seemed okay. But then in 2010, I did a Warrior Dash and I was like, that was fun. And then in 2012, I did my first Spartan, and that was what was taking over social media back then.
Right.
But
Mhm.
it was just Facebook, really, a little bit of Twitter. Um,
Yeah.
and I loved it. And it was, wow, what is this thing of like this reminds me of being a kid. We're like jumping on monkey bars and I'm outside and I'm the community part and all of it. And I was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast about this, not because I had any clue at all about where the sport was going. I used this site, a little OG reference called Blog Talk Radio, where you had to call into a number and then we did it live. And then I learned how to like, I can upload an intro track, but I knew nothing about audio, video, nothing. Self-taught, started doing it. And because I was passionate about it, people felt that and they're like, wow, you're the guy. You're the podcast guy. And that slowly grew into what we would call a media company of covering this sport whose I've known for the last few years, its peak was far behind me. And I honestly didn't know what I was going to do next because I don't have a degree. I don't have a daddy Warbuck situation. I'm just out here crushing it,
Mhm.
grinding, as the kids say, like you and I have been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
And this hybrid thing kind of seemed like it was catching on. So HYROX and Deca Fit's the other big one in America, both launched at the end of 2019. And it was a lot of obstacle racers who were doing it, the athletes that I knew were trying this new thing. January of 2020, I do a first HYROX in Chicago. And at the time, it was like, well, this seems like a cool alternative to doing an obstacle race. It's indoors. I like it, but it wasn't what it is now. But 3 years in, I'm about to celebrate my 3-year anniversary of HFM. I was like, I think this thing has, again, not because I foresaw the future, but it just felt right. And then I think I told you even that even in America, it's still what it was already big in the UK. It was starting to grow in Europe. And then in America, we're at near peak. I don't know where the top is, but we're at near peak HYROX. Your video, if you want to talk about it, has over, or your photo has over 250,000 views. I posted just a picture of here's the events that are coming, and that
Yeah.
has 750,000 views. Now, with every day, even though I posted a month ago, people resharing, who's going to do this with me? Can't wait to do this. So we're at like peak, like, let's get on board with this thing. And again, it's a lot of what HYROX is doing right, and a lot of this thing of like, it's really cool to be fit. It's really cool to be sober, like things that haven't been a thing before, right? Running and all these niches that people do were always like the niches that they were. And who knows how long it's going to last before people are like, F that. I want to stay up all night and blast my mind with drugs. But right now, it's super cool to be fit.
Yeah. When does the drug wave restart, Matt?
Exactly. It will. Trust me, it will. I mean, listen, people are already. Listen, I saw an ad. I don't want to get off track. I saw an ad for ketamine the other day, like as a thing, as like,
Oh,
oh, just do some ketamine. I'm like, okay. To each his own.
yeah. No, it's really been fascinating to see. And a couple times now in the course of our friendship over the last decade plus, you've been exactly right. You've been ahead of the curve because a couple years ago, and this is the kind of guy that Matt Davis is. And I love getting to talk with you. Yeah, I came down and ran Atlanta. Matt is famously Atlanta based. I came down and ran the Atlanta half marathon, which is Thanksgiving morning. And so I'm in town the night before, and you get the phone call from Matt. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Let's go get coffee. Because that's just who Matt Davis is. Even on the eve of a holiday with his family in town and everything, we drove around town, and Matt knows every single coffee shop in town, being a sober hybrid rock star himself. So we finally found a coffee shop that was actually open the night before
Oh
Thanksgiving.
yeah, I remember now. Now I'm remembering that. It's
Yeah,
funny because I didn't run it that year, I don't think, but I ran it
you
like
didn't.
I have run it the last 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely ran it last year. But, a big part of that conversation was Matt telling me, who a lot of people think I'm the guy that's like ahead of the curve, like I'm the social media guy. And Matt was like, Strub, you got to do this HYROX thing. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, get into it. And I was like, oh no, this is stupid. I know I told this story on your podcast the other day, but Matt had talked me into doing a battle frog race back in Louisville, Kentucky in 2016. And that was one of the last Battle Frog races ever. I
Yes.
think I killed Battle Frog. And we're hoping now that I didn't kill HYROX by going to Miami Beach. Once Chris Strub takes up a hobby, that's usually representative of the peak, and it's all downhill from here, I think. But Matt, this HYROX thing appears to not be going anywhere. There's so many different options and so many different avenues where people can spend their money. I interviewed one of the regional head coaches here, Dan Mitchell from Orange Theory Fitness, for example, is another great place where people spend a lot of their money to get their workouts in. But everything now seems to be HYROX. And I think you really touched on it a lot. But are you seeing a rise also of other gyms and things trying to coordinate and trying to be more supportive of HYROX training? Like, again, I have that Orange Theory perspective, but I know F45 is another one. Like, are all gyms now trying to get into the whole HYROX thing?
So
Seeing
here's what
rise?
HYROX did wisely. They took this affiliate model, but where CrossFit's affiliate model was, listen, give us this much money a month, and we trust you're going to do CrossFit, but you basically can do what you want, but you're a CrossFit gym. And people, especially back in the day, if I could, if I could be searched Atlanta CrossFit, Milwaukee CrossFit, boom, I was going to grow, right? But now, kind of their downfall, because CrossFit kind of became a dirty word. They had this horrible tragedy 2 years ago where someone died during the CrossFit Games. And like all things, fads do happen. So today, calling yourself Greenville HYROX Gym is amazing. It might not be in 2 or 3 years. You're much better calling yourself Greenville Fitness or Greenville Functional Fitness or Greenville whatever. And then putting the SEO in there on your page about the kind of classes that you teach. So anyway, anyone can be a HYROX affiliate. It's really not expensive at all. And the big selling point early on was early access to tickets. So tickets are going on sale. I just did a post for 4 cities, and 48 hours before they go to the public, they'll go to these HYROX affiliates. Now, that used to mean something. Once they added F45, literally automatically every F45 gym becomes a HYROX affiliate. A company called not B Sport, but BE in Australia, a bunch, basically everyone has the code. And they go, don't share that code with anyone. Good luck, right? So boom, those sell out in seconds, right? Or minutes. And so these other gyms also can do their own thing. So F45 just launched this thing called Peak 500, which they're going to do a couple times a year, and it's a basic like mini little Hyroxy little thing. You guys have the dry try. I say you guys like you speak for all of OTF, but they've had that for a while. But I know you just had it, wasn't it last week?
It's later in April. It's coming up here.
Okay, my friends did his early. I thought they were all on the same day.
It's April and September is when dry try is, so you could schedule it in a different weekend. I digress,
Right.
but this is dry try season.
Right. So I keep waiting for other companies to come around. In England, again, they're 2 years ahead. So just this weekend, there was an event called Trika Fit, which is Dublin's answer to it. Massive. Like that guy's crushed 7,000 people, like crushing it. Um, and then there's a bunch of these smaller ones that are kind of on the way. Some of them are what we call high rocks in a different order, right? You
That
can't
yeah.
really tell the difference. And then there's a race called Deadly Dozen, which again hasn't taken off here, but in the UK, where it's that one you do on the track with weights, plates, and dumbbells. So I've been waiting for the bigger brands to figure it out. Like, why doesn't Nike launch one? Why doesn't Under Armour? Why doesn't Rogue? Like, it seems like it's ripe for the picking. And yes, you still have to do a lot of things right, but it seems like it's right there. And if you follow fitness, there's so much money being put into just wearables and tech and all this stuff. So I think we've got a lot more to come.
Matt, do you think you know me? I've run a half marathon now in all 50 states. Atlanta was great. That was I think state 47 or 48. Do you see the high roxification? And by the way, the season premiere of this season 4 of Chris Strub Unmuted, I talk about the high roxification of Orange Theory Fitness and laid out a lot of ideas that I think OTF needs to implement to survive this phase. But I want to ask you about the outdoor running industry too. Like, there's only so many dollars out there. And I'm a big like rock and roll series guy, and we talked about like the Publix half marathon in Atlanta. Like, is HYROX going to kill the traditional outdoor running industry?
Well, they're definitely not going to kill it. So remember, if you look at the macro, the wave of everything is up, right? And it's a little weird and skewed because, the numbers, literally died in COVID. And so then it's like, okay, we're back up, but are we to 2019 numbers? Like, where are we, right?
Yeah.
And so also, I don't really trust a lot of PR because every running community thing says running is up, right? Like, because it depends how you I'm just skeptical. Does that mean all things are up, just 5Ks, all halves? Like what's up, right? In terms of like year over year. So like run sign up will say people who've registered for a race have probably used run sign up or race roster or any of these companies, and they will always
Yep.
say their numbers are up. Well, it's also because people find them every year. So it doesn't mean there's more races, it means more races found them. So I think no matter how big HYROX ever gets, there's going to be someone that says, do you want to do HYROX? And they go, absolutely not. I'm not strong. I'm not buff. To which I would say what I say to you or anyone, it doesn't matter, but they don't believe it. So they're never going to not do a 5K. They're never going to, they're not gym people, they're runners, right? So running is also quote unquote up, but I think I the life cycle I saw in OCR was OCR 3 to 4 years on the 2 to 3 years on the low end, 3 to 5 on the high end. And then I don't really do that anymore. What do you do? Well, I kind of found ultra and trail running. or I found strength. I'm now a bodybuilder, right? That happens with a lot of women. Like they find that. Or I'm out of shape as F. You know what I mean? So I think HYROX similarly, people famously change their IG handle to Spartan Bob, and there's a lot of HYROX Bobs, and in 2 or 3 years they'll change it back because it didn't take over their life anymore, right? So I think the life cycle, but you can always jump in a 5K and you can always jump in a half if you've run decently. So I don't think they're going to kill the running industry.
It's fascinating to think about these longer term life cycles. That's why I'm so grateful for you for taking some time to talk this through with me, Matt. Having seen a lot of this evolution over the years, and I want to get into before we run out of time here, one more aspect of this, which is the uh, single people versus non-single people running these events. A lot of people might have found me, and I've got a bunch of followers here on Instagram in the last few days since your episode came out. So thank you for that. But a lot of people in the HYROX world now associate me not with my mediocre finish time in Miami Beach, but with this wacky sign that I put together at HYROX Miami Beach last weekend. If you're listening, it says take a gel and my number, and I taped gels, non HYROX affiliated gels, of course. And I can talk about this now on my podcast because it doesn't really matter. Apparently, you get a penalty if you take a gel from a sign like that, but all that aside, Matt, I really felt like the reason that the post that I was featured in on your page was certainly not because I was one of the better looking athletes there or anything like that. But the idea is that there seemed to be a lot of single people at HYROX looking for, partners, whether they're HYROX partners or life partners or both. And there really feels to me to be an undercurrent of that, not just with me. And Matt, I'm famously one of your forever single friends for a long time, but it's really a big thing in the industry is people
Yeah,
want to meet other people in that same space, right?
yeah, I think when I again, I kind of predate the apps, right? Like when you met someone on the internet, air quotes, it was a joke. Like you met on the internet, like all there wasn't even Match back in my day, okay?
ASL. Yeah, you're in an
Right,
AOL
exactly,
chat room.
exactly. So now we've got 20 years of the apps and the 30-year-olds, the millennials, the 30 and 40s are like, F the apps. I've been on all of them. They're all garbage. How can I meet someone? And the answer normally was go to the bar, right? Also,
Yep. Yep.
underrated, by the way, I'm gonna say where I notice beautiful people, uh, go to Target, go to Whole Foods. I always see super attractive people. I'm like, well, this is where I would pick up a woman if I wasn't married, right? So it used to be go to
Mhm.
the bar, um, and now it's like come join this run club. That's where young, fit, and now you add what happens when you're young and fit and you're not wearing a lot of clothes and you're sweating and there's what do you call it? Not just adrenaline, but what's the other stuff going on there? Pheromones and oxytocin, whatever's going on, right? It's you're in prime. Let's meet people. So um, I think my wife said that to me when we walked into Atlanta High Rocks. She said, "I've never seen so many good-looking people in my life in one place, men and women."
Me neither. Uh, I don't. I kind of blacked out there on Friday after. I mean, they kicked off HYROX Miami Beach with the women's doubles, and I got there a couple minutes before Jake to try and get the lay of the land. I'm in there with my signs, and I'm like, I am never leaving. Like, I walked in there, and I'm like, Matt, I'm never missing another HYROX ever again. Like, fly me to Wuhan this weekend. Like, let's go. Like it really is the largest single collection of attractive people I've ever seen in my whole life. I mean that frankly, right? Like you walk into Whole Foods and you're like, oh, look, aisle seven, there's some. No, HYROX is like just literally wave after wave. It's like, let's load 100 attractive women in this shoot. And then 20 minutes later, here comes another.
in matching athletic wear, and I think that's that would probably be another point I should add to my growing list of things is Gymshark wasn't the biggest fitness company in the world 10 years ago, right? Gymshark, Lululemon, like these other companies where like it shows off what you've got. You know what I mean? Even if you're not like a tiny person, like even I'd say larger men and women, like you look okay in their gear. So I think that's a big part. And trust me, like this is what I do for a living. It's also, and because of like which came first, it's my business, it's my passion. But I'm always like, hey man, like who knows when that roller coaster is going to start going down the other way? You know what I mean? Bowling used to be the number one sport in America, right? Like I mean, I'm not dissing it, but you know what I'm saying? Like over the years, there's always been these peaks and valleys of this is the most popular sport in the world. I'm sure the fucking, I don't know if I can curse.
Yeah, yeah, you
I'm
got it.
sure the pickle and paddle people think their ride is never going to end, but I'm telling you, it probably will.
Yeah. But what won't end, I think, is that undercurrent of people wanting to connect with other people. So maybe I got to
Yes.
log onto my surf dating and adjust my settings to bowling. Was that Matt's big tip there? Is I'm a
I'm just
bowler.
saying at one point, ultimate frisbee, like just name the hip happening thing of the day through 70s till today, and you're going to find a bunch of stuff that, like, again, there were magazines and clothing and, groups. But yeah, you're at 267K right now for a post that was on April 3rd.
And
So,
and like I said, to close my point on that, and Matt, I know we're out of time. It's 2 o'clock, but like that post I think went viral because it represents the feelings of a lot of people that are doing high rocks, not just at Miami, but really around the world. Is I think a lot of people are there to try and connect with other people. It certainly felt that way. I hated that the after party for HYROX Miami Beach was Saturday night and our start time was Sunday night. I'm like, don't you, who planned this? You know what I mean? So, Matt, I can legitimately talk to you about HYROX and life for hours. If you're listening to this episode and you haven't checked out Hybrid Fitness Media Podcast, please go do that. You can start with my episode, but then if you want to hear anything about HYROX, Matt is the guy and your company is the best. And Matt, I just again want to say thank you. You have taught me so much over the years of just being bold and talking to anyone. You and I had this conversation the other day. We're talking about Hunter, the superhero that does high rocks every weekend and
right.
runs 45 minutes. And I'm like, you ever talk to Hunter? And he's like, yeah, I talk to him all the time. He's my boy. And that's just who Matt is. Like, he's like, oh, I'm at the Super Bowl pregame party and I just interviewed, LT. And I'm like, what do you mean you just interviewed LT? He's like, yeah, I just walked up to him and said hello. Right. So that is who Matt is just this willing to talk to anyone and really just be kind to anyone. And as great as your podcast coverage is and your knowledge of high rocks, I just am grateful to you as a man. And I will close with this. If any of these bands, including my little surf high rocks one, if high rocks ends up bringing me my future wife, Matt, be prepared to stand there next to me in my wedding. That's the kind of guy that Matt is and always has been to me since we met back in Atlanta over a decade ago now. So I'm just forever grateful to you sincerely and couldn't think of a better guy to talk to for the season finale of Chris Strub Unmuted.
All right, man. Good talk. Thanks for having me, buddy.
We'll talk soon. Cheers, buddy. Thanks for listening to Chris Strub Unmuted. Support the show by clicking like and subscribe. Keep up with me on social media. Make sure you follow Matt and his team at Hybrid Fitness Media. And remember, we are all famous to a few people. C4 cheers, buddy.